Yep, I think we're live.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the COVID-19 Small Business Seminars brought to you by Mr. Yulin Lee and myself, Stephen Fairchild. I'm an attorney, and Yulin Lee is an accountant, and we provide both accountants of law or perspectives of law and accountants to what to do for your small business. So today I'm leading off, and let's see. We're going to start with a week one recap. I talked about force majeure clauses, how it's important to negotiate with your creditors, and there are corporate law solutions to the problems you might have. But like the most important thing to do is open a dialogue in between yourself and your creditors to keep your business afloat. So moving on to today we're going to talk about the quarantined inventor. So right now we're still under quarantine in New York City, and you know what, they're talking about second waves of the coronavirus. So this is important information. If you are an inventor, you might still find yourselves with a lot of time on your hands. And I understand that the quarantine and it's kind of winding down in certain areas of the country, but we're gonna have another wave of it, and it's still in effect here. So what should a quarantine inventor do? So for starters, you need to find your momentum. And I understand that with what's happened with the coronavirus, it's so weird, so crazy. I personally have gone up and down. I've had an emotional roller coaster ride of, and I imagine a lot of people have had similar things, between shock and despair and anxiety. But the most important thing is to start a goal. You need to set a goal and start recovering. And when this ends, you want to be closer to achieving your dreams, however that looks, and keep in mind that your potential business competitors are in the same situation. They might have more time to develop their ideas, develop their business, and work on things. And, having a goal and moving towards that, it's the old axiom, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So I want to encourage you to take those steps today. So moving on. So what are some of those steps? And this will be what we talk about in the bulk of the rest of the presentation. But you can do invention development, you can do competitor research, you can brainstorm and dream, and I'm going to share with you some free and low cost, options for patent applications. Well, they're not free, but certain things you can do, low cost options. So step one, how do you develop your invention? What are some good key aspects about this? So in my experience, the best inventors are the people with field experience, that they understand the market needs. They, if you're working in a field for 5 or 10 years, it gives you a leg up to knowing what are the problems. And it also gives you, it shows you have a commitment to improving your ideas. The experience provides creativity, and you might have an established network. So when you start your entrepreneurial part, start your business, you have people you can go to, either as a potential customer base or business partners. So people who have the experience are the ones who are the best inventors, the most successful entrepreneurs that come out of this. So here's a free option you can do when you can do competitive research. These are things you can do on your own. You don't need to pay a patent attorney to do it. You can if you want to, but you can do it by yourself. You can do a prior art search. You can do what that is you just Google, search the internet for competitive products. Things are already out there, and you can do patent searches. You can go online to the patent office, the USPTO website, or the WIPO, those databases. The European, your patent office has a database too, and you can just type in, you might have to think of a brainstorm with a patent attorney about keywords, but you can go in there and search for patents yourself. But you have to keep in mind that not everything is published. certainly with patents, that there's a delay in patent applications being published. So just because something is filed today, it might not be publicly available for a year or a year and a half from now. And by doing this research, you can assess the market landscape. You can determine if the market niche is filled, and you can find out if there's competitive products. What are things that you can do to improve those products? And in the patent world, we call those designer rounds. So there might be a competitive product out there or another patent application that would infringe yours. You design around to kind of get out of their scope and find a better way of improving things. And finally, your investors will want to have as much of this information as possible. So another thing you can do, another kind of freebie option you can do with your quarantine time, is you can brainstorm with your friends. As I mentioned, the best entrepreneurs and inventors are the ones with experience. We would hope that you have an established network of people who you can talk to about the market niche and about your invention, and you can brainstorm with them. And if you're going to do that, there are two strong pieces of advice here: is get an NDA with anybody you consult, and if it's outside your family, definitely. And do not publish any of your ideas online. Those are very bad. You're opening yourself up to having your ideas stolen if you do these things. Well, you can publish your ideas online after you get a patent application filed, but that's a different matter. Another thing you can do if you have quarantine time is hopefully you're getting more sleep. And it's true that people actually have mental breakthroughs of ideas while they sleep. And a famous example of this is in the biotech world. It's called polymerase chain reaction. And the guy who invented this stuff, it's how you take DNA and multiply it. And the man who invented it, apparently, so I've heard, it happened when he was in his sleep. But you also need to be aware that you might be having a breakthrough in your sleep. The last couple of slides are about more directed towards patent law and trying to opening beginning stages of getting your application on file. And first is be very cautious about sales. This could bar you. So yeah, just one sale or even an offer for sale can destroy your patent down the road. It's really bad because the problem is it starts a 1-year clock to file a patent. And if you don't have the patent application ready by then, you will lose any patent protection you have on that thing you sold or offered to sell. And unfortunately, a lot of inventors do start doing that. They start selling their product before they get an application on file. And I've seen it. It's bad. And so a related concept is experimentation, because you do need to kind of work through things publicly in order to even see if it works or not. So that's called an experimentation. And it's not considered a sale in terms of a patent application, but there are sort of factors that kind of go in to determine if it's experimentation or a sale. First, it should be obvious. Was there any money involved? If you're letting your friend borrow this or showing this to your friend, that's one thing. But like if they pay you to do this, then it's more of a sale. And do you control it? Does the vendor control it? Was there an NDA? And does the greater public have access to what is going on here? That's why I said don't publish things online until you've done it, because that means you've given the public access to your information. So a great first step for inventors, and this is what I tell a lot of people, is to do what's called provisional patent application. It's more or less what I'd call like an informal patent application versus a non-provisional. We talk about this a bit later. They have lower filing costs. There's less formalities. You don't need black and white pictures, so you can include photographs. And I can crank these out pretty quickly. A non-provisional, I ask a person an inventor to give me about like a month or so, because there's a lot more back and forth. And a non-provisional is more expensive. They have filing costs. Just a quick description of the difference between them. A provisional does not get examined to become a patent application, or to become a patent, a granted patent, whereas a non-provisional does. So if you, let's go to the advantages here. Maybe this make more clear. So a provisional gives you 1 year to put together a non-provisional. So if you don't have a follow-on application at the end of it, then it goes away. It's just abandoned, and it's gone forever. But it gives you that 1 year to put together a more formal application. And why would you want to do this? Well, it gives you time to find a partner or co-inventor, to improve the invention. And there might be market turmoil, as there kind of is now with coronavirus. And the thing is, though, with provisionals, you only get one. You can't do provisional today and then another provisional a year from now. You really it's just one span of time. You can't chain them together, is what I call it. And of course, they're much faster and easy to write and file. The fastest I've done a provisional is about like 2 hours. I mean, whereas a non-provisional, like, I really need like a month, and it's just a lot more work. And all right, so another thing is what's called a design pen application. This is a fairly low cost option, but they can be extremely valuable. And if there's a lot of competitive products, you probably might not get a utility patent. This is a good option. So quick, let's just talk about what a design patent is versus a utility patent. So utility patent covers the functional aspect of an invention, whereas design patent covers entirely the ornamental, non-functional aspects of it. And so here's an example that I tell people about it. So I guess it's about like 20 years now that in The Simpsons TV show, there was an episode where Homer, I think it was Martin, the little boy genius, entered a competition to make a model nuclear power plant. And Homer comes out with one, as I think it's made out of cardboard and macaroni, and it's just this thing. But he puts a racing stripe down the side and has wings to lower wind resistance. That was his model. Meanwhile, Martin comes out with one that's like very sophisticated and it's powering that very room. So this is a great example of like what design patent versus utility patents. Martin's compressed, miniature, highly detailed, intricate, like very sophisticated, powering that very room. So this is a great example of like what design. Did you hear that? Or okay, it was weird. There's a audio feedback loop. The Martins would have a lot of utility patent applications to it, whereas Homer's wind resistant, wings, and his, although that would be a functional one, but the racing stripe, that is definitely like entirely ornamental, has no functional value. It just looks nice. That's what a design patent application covers. And that's not to say that they're not valuable. I guarantee you that your iPhone, those things have a lot of design patent applications on them. They might not necessarily have a functional value, but they look nice, and they're very lucrative. And finally, okay, so here's just a summary of what we talked about. Plan your next step, what to do. Start research and develop your invention, and you want to get something filed sooner rather than later. And obviously, you want to talk to a patent attorney. So that's what I got here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll turn it over to you, Lynn. Do you have any?
Yeah, we do have some questions.
Great.
Steve, we got a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, one of the questions that the audience asks is that, let's say that I started my own business, right? I have an idea, I like to implement it. Should I choose a utility patent at the beginning, or I should do a design? Or which one is better? Or I can change over as we move forward. Do I have a choice? Yeah.
Well, the first thing I would do is get that prior art search done. And you want to know what's out there. and based on that, that would determine where you want to go, or what the options are. If if it's a very crowded field with competitive products and stuff, then really a design patent application might be the only thing you do. Um, Otherwise, it would just be a total waste of money to go after utility. It's going to get shot down. You'll get mad at me for have losing your money, and whereas if you have a decent shot at going after a utility patent application, you definitely would want to take it because they are more valuable long term. But really, I think that it just comes down to how much prior art is already out there.
Right. Sounds like even for an entrepreneur at the very beginning, there are multiple options.
Right.
It's best for them to go out, talk to someone like you to get
Right.
an idea, even though they may not directly get an attorney to file it, but at least
Mm-hmm.
get an idea before they start.
You want to talk about it, and like I've seen so many people just they have their idea, and they, without talking to me or anybody like me, they just publish it online, or they just start selling it, and both of those things just immediately cut off the options. um, and certainly after a year, because that's the statutory time frame for this. But yeah, they just start selling it, and they essentially waive all their IP rights down the road.
Yeah. The second question I see the audience asked is that in terms of the cost, you mentioned a
Mm-hmm.
little bit in the slides as well. Which one is more cost efficient in terms of application?
The It also depends on your time frame, but also depends on what ends up happening. So um if we can find out the prior art, and decide if it's not worth to pursue a patent application,
Right.
then I'm saving you money. I mean, that prior art search will save you money.
Yeah.
But like if the prior art search comes back, and like it's an open field, then that's
Sure.
good to know. And
Mm.
having that detailed prior art search will help you get investors as well. Any investor worth their salt will want to see that. So all these things, it really depends on it varies fact specific. We need to know
Mm.
what's out there. But the last thing I would advise somebody is to spend a lot of money on a utility patent application if I know the patent's going to get shot down,
Right.
because it just runs right into another competitor product already on the market.
Sounds good, Steve. Thank you so
Sure.
much. I think that's the
Sure.
question I have. I'll let somebody else, if you guys have questions, as you know, this one is broadcast live on Facebook, Mega CPA page,
Hmm.
along with on Zoom. So you guys have two options. You can just do the Zoom chat or Q&A, either one of it. You can ask questions. Also, you can do it on the Facebook Live.